The air in the basement didn't just feel cold. It felt heavy, as if the very walls were exhaling a secret they had been forced to keep for 30 years. It was a humid Tuesday afternoon in a quiet suburb of Ohio. The kind of place where neighbors wave over white picket fences and the most scandalous thing is an unmowed lawn. But inside the old Miller estate, a jackhammer was about to tear through more than just concrete. As the serrated metal teeth bit into the gray slab, a hollow sound echoed a void where there should have been solid earth. The contractor paused, wiping sweat from his brow, sensing a shift in the room's energy. One more strike, and the floor gave way to reveal not just dirt, but a rusted metal trunk, bound in heavy chains. As the lid creaked open under the dim glow of a flashlight, the stench of decay didn't hit them first. It was the sight of a small porcelain doll resting atop a pile of moth-eaten blankets. Beneath those blankets lay the skeletal remains of a truth so dark, it had turned a loving home into a living tomb for 3 decades. This wasn't just a cold case. It was a carefully curated silence. Welcome to Midnight Crime Vault, where tonight, we unearth the family secret that stayed buried for decades. To understand the horror found beneath the concrete, we must travel back to 1994. The Harrison family, Thomas, Martha, and their 10-year-old daughter, Lily, were the heartbeat of their community. Thomas was a respected high school principal, a man of iron discipline and soft-spoken wisdom. Martha was the quintessential caregiver, a woman who spent her weekends baking for church drives and tending to her prize-winning hydrangeas. Lily was their miracle child, a bright-eyed girl with a penchant for playing the violin. From the outside, they were the American dream personified. But every dream has a shadow. Neighbors recalled that while the Harrisons were polite, they were intensely private. The curtains were always drawn by 6 p.m. No one ever saw Lily play in the front yard. She was always in the back, shielded by a towering oak fence. Then, in the winter of 1995, the music stopped. The Harrisons told the neighborhood they were moving to Florida for Martha's health. Within 48 hours, the house was packed, the car was gone, and the family vanished from the town's memory, or so it seemed. The reality of that final night in 1995 was far from a peaceful departure. Imagine the scene. A blizzard is howling outside, masking the sounds of the world. Inside, the atmosphere is suffocating. We now know through recovered journals that Thomas Harrison was not the man the public saw. Behind closed doors, he was a volatile perfectionist, a man who viewed his family not as people, but as extensions of his own ego. That night, a simple argument over a broken vase spiraled into a nightmare. Narratives reconstructed from forensic evidence suggest a frantic struggle in the kitchen. The sound of porcelain shattering on linoleum, the very vase Martha had cherished. In a fit of rage, the gentle principal snapped. The violence was swift, brutal, and final. But the most chilling part wasn't the act itself. It was what happened next. Thomas didn't call the police. He didn't flee. He sat down, finished his tea, and began the plan. He knew that to keep his perfect reputation, the bodies couldn't just disappear, they had to be integrated into the house itself. For 20 years, the house passed through 3 different owners, none of whom suspected they were walking over a crime scene. The case only cracked when a junior detective, Sarah Jenkins, began looking into ghost citizens, people who had no tax records, no death certificates, and no digital footprint after a certain date. The Harrisons were at the top of her list. When she tracked down the Florida address Thomas had given his neighbors, she found a vacant lot that had been empty since the 1970s. The investigation turned into a hunt for a shadow. Jenkins discovered that Thomas had lived under 4 different aliases across 3 states, always working manual labor jobs, always paying in cash. But the breakthrough came from a small overlooked detail: a storage unit in rural Pennsylvania, paid for every month like clockwork for 30 years. Inside, police found Martha's jewelry, Lily's violin, and a detailed floor plan of the Ohio house with a small X marked in the basement. As the forensic team excavated the basement in the present day, they expected to find 2 sets of remains. Instead, they found 3. This sent shockwaves through the department. Who was the third person? DNA testing revealed a staggering truth. The third body was an unidentified male who had gone missing in 1992, 3 years before the family moved. It turned out Thomas Harrison hadn't just snapped once. He was a serial protector of his own secrets. The third body was a drifter who had discovered Thomas S. embezzling from the school funds years earlier. Thomas had gotten away with it then, and that success gave him the blueprint for how to handle his family when they became inconvenient. The The ghoulish realization hit the investigators. Thomas had been living a double life for years, with a graveyard literally beneath his feet, while he taught ethics to teenagers. The manhunt for Thomas Harrison ended not in a courtroom, but in a dilapidated cabin in the woods of Oregon. When the SWAT team closed in, they found an old man sitting in a rocking chair, holding a photograph of the family he had destroyed. He didn't resist. His only words were, "I kept them safe. No one could hurt them if they were with me." Thomas died in prison, awaiting trial, taking many of the specific whys to his grave. The community was left to grapple with the fact that a monster had lived among them, masked by a suit and a smile. The house in Ohio was eventually demolished, the earth turned over as if to purge the memory of what had happened, but the locals say that on quiet snowy nights you can still hear the faint ghostly sound of a violin coming from the empty lot. The Harrison case serves as a haunting reminder that we never truly know what happens behind closed doors. A family, a secret, and a slab of concrete were all it took to hide a triple homicide for a generation. It makes you wonder, as you walk through your own neighborhood or perhaps your own home, do you really know the history of the ground beneath your feet? Or is there a secret waiting for the right moment to be unearthed? What do you think was the ultimate trigger for Thomas? Was he a born predator, or did the pressure of maintaining a perfect life drive him to madness? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into the Harrison mystery chilling, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Midnight Crime Vault. Turn on notifications so you never miss a descent into the dark side of human nature. Until next time, keep your eyes open. The truth is often closer than you think. Deep within the archives of the Ohio State Police, there is a file that remained unopened for decades, gathering dust while the world outside continued to spin, oblivious to the tragedy contained within its yellowed pages. To understand why this case is so unique, we must look at the psychological architecture of Thomas Harrison. Born in a strict household where failure was not an option, Thomas carried the weight of expectation like a physical burden. His colleagues at the high school described him as a man of unshakable composure, yet those who worked closely with him noted a certain coldness in his eyes when things didn't go according to plan. This coldness was the first sign of the darkness that would eventually consume his family. Martha, on the other hand, was the warmth that balanced his ice. She was a woman of deep faith and even deeper patience, a woman who believed that love could smooth over any rough edge. But even her patience had its limits. In the months leading up to the disappearance, Martha had begun to notice discrepancies in the family finances. She found ledgers hidden in the attic, records of money being moved from the school's extracurricular fund into a private account. This was the beginning of the end. The confrontation that took place that snowy night in 1995 wasn't just about a broken vase. It was about the crumbling of Thomas's carefully constructed facade. Imagine the tension in that kitchen, the smell of pot roast still lingering in the air, the sound of the wind rattling the window panes, and the sudden, sharp realization in Martha's eyes that her husband was a stranger. The struggle was short but devastating. When Lily walked into the room, her violin case still in hand after a late practice, she didn't see her father. She saw a man she didn't recognize. The tragedy of Lily is perhaps the most heartbreaking part of this story. She was a child of immense promise, caught in the crossfire of her father's ego. After the act, Thomas worked with a chilling efficiency. He used his knowledge of construction, a hobby he had perfected over the years, to reinforce the basement floor. He spent 3 days in that basement, working by the light of a single bulb, while the neighborhood believed the family was simply packing for their new life. The level of premeditation required to live in a house for weeks after such an event, knowing what was beneath the floor, is indicative of a profound lack of empathy. When Detective Jenkins finally began to piece the puzzle together, she was met with a wall of silence from the town. People didn't want to believe that Mr. Harrison, the man who had handed out their children's diplomas, was capable of such horror. The investigation involved thousands of hours of digital forensics, tracking old bank records and social security numbers that had long since been deactivated. The discovery of the third body changed everything. It transformed a domestic tragedy into a saga of serial criminality. The drifter, identified through dental records years later as Silas Vane, had been a man with no one to miss him, making him the perfect first victim for a man like Thomas. The forensic evidence found in the storage unit in Pennsylvania was the final nail in the coffin. It contained not just mementos but trophies, items that Thomas kept to remind him of his successes. The trial that never happened would have been one of the most sensational in the state has history. Legal experts believe that Thomas would have used a defense of diminished capacity, but his journals suggested otherwise. They revealed a man who was fully aware of his actions, a man who felt that he was cleaning up his life. The public reaction was one of collective trauma. The town held a vigil at the site of the house, but the scars remained long after the flowers had wilted. This case challenges our understanding of the monster next door. It forces us to confront the reality that evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a tie and a smile. As the sun sets over that empty lot in Ohio, the silence remains, a testament to the lives that were stolen and the secret that stayed buried for far too long. Every true crime story has a lesson, and perhaps the lesson here is that the most dangerous secrets are the ones we keep from ourselves. The human mind is capable of incredible deception, both of others and of the self. Thomas Harrison lived 30 years as a lie, and in the end, the lie was all that was left of him. As we close this vault tonight, remember that the past is never truly gone. It's just waiting for someone to dig deep enough. What other secrets are hidden in the quiet towns we call home? What other stories are waiting to be told? The journey into the dark doesn't end here. There are thousands of cold cases, thousands of missing persons, and thousands of secrets still buried. We will continue to search, to question, and to remember those who are lost in the shadows. This is the mission of Midnight Crime Vault, to bring light to the darkest corners of our history. We thank you for joining us on this journey. Your support allows us to continue this work, to honor the victims and to seek the truth, no matter how deeply it is buried. The legacy of the Harrison family is a tragic one, but through this narrative, we ensure they are not forgotten. Let their story be a warning and a call to vigilance. The world is full of mysteries, and we are just getting started. Every subscriber, every like, and every comment helps us grow and bring more of these stories to life. We value your input and your perspective. What cases would you like us to cover next? Are there local legends or unsolved mysteries in your area that deserve a national spotlight? Let us know. We are a community of seekers, and together, we can uncover the truth. The dark can be a frightening place, but it is only by facing it that we can find the light. Good night, and stay safe. The shadows are long, but the truth is longer. Keep questioning, keep searching, and never take anything at face value. The person you wave to every morning might just have a secret that would change everything. Until our next descent into the vault, remember, some secrets are meant to be found, and some stories are too important to stay buried. We will see you in the next video, where we will explore another mystery that defies explanation. The vault is always open for those who dare to look inside. Subscribe now to ensure you're part of our next investigation. The truth is out there, and we will find it together.